Hello and welcome everybody to the Terminal State Podcast with my host Joe Kerr and your co-host Joey Robinson.
All right, we are live. Let's get to it.
So, just an introduction for Joe and I. If Joe would want to go first, go ahead.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm Joe Kerr, born and raised Buffalo, New York.
And I'm Joe Robinson, born and raised in Buffalo, New York as well. Hopefully that I can distinguish us by using Joey and Joe. If you couldn't tell, we have the same fucking name. So, first fuck of the podcast. It's gonna be one of those podcasts. Don't worry, guys. So we'll keep you entertained with all of our fun political stuff and with a dash of comedy in there, you know. But if you guys didn't know, there is a pandemic going on right now. We're
Really?
about how many months in now? I've lost track, to be honest with you.
Yeah, almost 6.
Almost 6.
Well, technically, this started, last year in October in China. But
Oh, really? I
our
didn't
first
even know
case
that.
was in March. Or I think it was first case January. Lockdown began in March.
Well, yeah, I actually was, I was feeling like, I know that everybody has literally said, oh, dude, back in January, man, I was fucking feeling like really shitty.
A lot of people.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like, but I don't know, like, I normally, I feel shitty during the winter time, and that's why I was like assuming that I just had another case of pneumonia. Like, I actually went to the doctors and they gave me a chest x-ray, and I was like, I'm convinced I have pneumonia, and this was back in February, like mid-February, and then like my test results came back because they scanned them and shit, and they were like, oh, you actually don't have it. But like, that's before they were even talking about cases at all being in the United States. Like,
Yeah, they actually have been able, through like contact tracing, to trace some cases even back, in the United States to January,
Yeah,
to
and
the earlier months of this,
well, and that's the thing too, is that I was thinking like with JFK Airport, and because Matt actually works at the airport, and then he was saying that he was feeling like shitty early on in January, and then like, I don't know if maybe he came in contact with somebody who came from JFK, or like, is Buffalo an international airport?
Yeah.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, so even at his own airport, he
Yeah.
could literally come in contact.
I think they said like somewhere between 1 to 2 million Chinese people, every month, just coming back and forth.
Yeah. Well,
Let alone from other countries too, that are
Oh,
much
yeah.
closer to China than us.
Yeah,
Don't
well,
have the ocean to separate us.
yeah, with Italy and everything, that was like a whole big thing, is that like, obviously they're already on the other side of the ocean with
Right.
them, so like, I'm sure it's probably a faster transmission of it. But like, I don't know, I have quite a few conspiracies, if you will. Yeah, we'll bring that juicy
get into that.
word
Oh, yeah.
onto the podcast here.
You know that word was actually created by the CIA?
Really?
Was.
No, I did not know that.
Yep.
Okay.
After JFK's assassination, they coined it to discredit, because it's not just an alternative theory, or that's what it really is, right?
Yes.
There's reality, and there's people that want to, change the narrative of what actually happened to benefit them. So that word was actually made or first used because that's a pretty easy way to discredit someone off the bat. They're not that they have new evidence, or not that they have some alternative theory. They have a conspiracy. Conspiracy implies, there was it could be like untrue in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It almost it attacks like the fundamentals of the theory just on the word conspiracy. You know what I mean?
Well, and I definitely can see why a lot of like big corporate kind of entities would be very against the whole conspiracy like mindset of it, because they already have a pretty preset kind of way that they want to do stuff, and that's like one
Yeah.
of my, I don't know if we're getting off topic here on a whole other aspect of corporations and things like that. Of the yeah, we definitely are.
But yeah, like I don't know. It's tough because there are prominent scientists and doctors, that work in our government and that work in, the English government, the Italian government, the Spanish government, Western countries that we trust. They all have a pretty consensual idea of what is going on with this. This was somebody ate a bat in China, and now fucking 7 months later, the global economy is in the fucking shitter, and hundreds of thousands of people have died across the world. So it's kind of like, how did we get here? But one of the biggest things is, the government. People think of like the people's side almost of like the government, right? Like we think of this, there's supposed to be like this 100% transparency when there's not. And like there also is a government side to the government, the ruling class. How do you keep the society under order and law, and how do you, prevent civil unrest? So like if this was a bioweapon, would they tell us?
Yeah, I definitely don't think that they would want to tell. I mean, not obviously, but I'm definitely thinking that it is more in leaning towards it was a manufactured disease just from just with the lab being in Wuhan and then like just how vastly different all the symptoms are for it, and I mean, and the way it's affecting people, and I very much think that they could splice in like a type of way of making it transmit faster. You know what I mean? Just like all these different genetic manipulation of it.
See, I'm skeptical still, though. I think I truly believe that it is. I don't want to say man-made, but at least right. It could have come from someone with the bat, or it could have come the laboratory just as an accidental release kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that we specifically engineered this thing. There's lots of scientists that have discussed and did research on this and the molecular structure and shit like that. And I just don't think man-made viruses tend to be pretty weak.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
I genuinely don't really know too much about virology or whatever.
Well, let me tell you, I've learned the last couple months. But yeah, like a lot of man-made viruses, because you have to edit certain aspects of it. It's not natural. It's kind of like the same thing when people have like artificial hearts, and your body attacks the heart. It doesn't view it as like a natural
entity
cycle.
to be in your system there.
Right. Just like when we give people replace discs in the back and shit.
Yeah.
Their back muscles weaken.
So you're thinking more like, okay, so if it was an artificially made virus, that essentially your body would be able to immediately fight this off, and like,
or it would just be weaker, right? So it would affect less, kill less.
Well, I mean, and is it not though? Is it not fucking killing a kind of small portion of the population?
It really killed a lot of people.
I don't have like the numbers offhand, so I am asking. Like I wasn't.
Oh no, when you look
totally
overall, like, I mean, we have I think close to, I want to say 5 million cases in the United States, and that's just cases. We have I think still under 200,000 deaths.
Yeah.
And there's a population of 333 million people. So I mean, what is 200,000 of 330 million?
It's less than America's
half
population.
You know what I mean? So when it really comes down to it, like,
well, all right. So like I had said about with my whole conspiracy thing about the coronavirus is that I'm very much just feeling that it is like almost just a reason for government to step in on it, and
absolutely.
Specifically the state government, not even necessarily a federal thing. Like it's just because Trump like designed it that way to have governors in charge of what states do independently.
Well, yeah, I think that's one of the fundamental things that our founding fathers put in the Constitution is that, the 10th Amendment is that all other, rights not expressly written in the Constitution are designated to the states.
Yeah.
And I think we've definitely gotten away from that a lot. You know, we expect daddy federal government
Yeah,
to take care of
yeah,
us and
daddy
bail out our
government
states. You know, it's like New York State, we were already in a $10 billion hole, and then a pandemic hits.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this is the kind of reckless spending that could put us in trouble. You know, think about if it really was something like a plague, you know, that kills 1/3 of the
Yeah,
population.
exactly.
We'd
Like,
be royally fucked.
to put it fucking lightly, honestly.
Just the lack of like readiness. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
ridiculous.
And I almost feel like that kind of feeds into my whole conspiracy of like that it was made to do this, that they purposely didn't want us to be prepared to handle something like that, and just the overall solutions that they're giving us. I don't think it's actually helpful. It's more fear than
Absolutely.
actual preserving yourself and helping your own immune system. I mean,
Yeah, you don't hear any talk about that.
no, not at all. The only person who I hear beating that drum constantly is Joe Rogan. I mean,
Yeah.
he is literally the only one who
You hear it from, you know,
alternative sources.
exactly.
You don't hear
it
it
on
from the
news.
media. You don't
from the
hear
president.
because it's like that would ruin their narrative of what they want to.
Yeah. I think the
push.
biggest thing they want is the paycheck. You know,
Absolutely.
They're banking on this
I mean-
vaccine, this medication.
Well,
You know.
yeah, tragedy sells, man. I mean, like that's
Yeah, Hillary
just
Clinton literally said in March, this is a direct quote from Hillary Clinton, "Don't let a pandemic go to waste." The
She
direct
literally
quote.
said, "Don't let a
Yes.
pandemic go to waste."
Direct quote.
I mean, that's pretty fucked up, like that. But I believe it completely because it's, well, if you want to really go down my conspiracy hole of the whole, that sounded dirty.
I do not want to go down your hole.
No, okay, I know. We're just friends, Joe. Don't worry. Well, the whole, like, if you want to get into the whole Illuminati thing and whatever, like, yeah, that's me. I'm that guy on the podcast. Just to establish that right off the bat, I am your conspiracy fucking tinfoil man. So,
I guess I would be the opposite. I am very skeptical.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that is what's gonna make this podcast beautiful. This love baby of fucking conflicting ideas, but not like
You have a lot of similarities, but
yeah,
also some
not-
key differences.
not
you know?
some like fucking red tie, blue tie horse shit. Fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Anyways,
and honestly, that's one of the things that's missing from our political spectrum in 2020 is that, you know, you look at CNN or you look at Fox, and they never bring on someone with the opposing view.
I think they have, but it's just like almost like this controlled opposition type of thing where they almost like it's like their parody of what the other side
Yeah.
is. You get what I'm saying
Right.
on that? Like I really think that
Yeah.
that is like something they'll do
Well,
all
you
the
see
time.
all the time with like videos and stories. They leave out parts that don't fit what they're trying to sell or what they're trying to say. You know, like just for example, you listen to the Joe Rogan with Ben Shapiro.
Yes.
Did you remember that one part where
great.
they were talking about Colin Kaepernick, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Ben Shapiro, very conservative guy. Joe Rogan, he is a Democrat, but I'd say he's more in the middle.
Yeah.
He's not as fucking cuckoo.
I
as
mean,
the
he's
way
definitely
left has become.
identifies as like a liberal, and I really respect that. Like coming from a conservative kind of guy, not to make it
Yeah.
all about me.
But you know, they were talking about, you know, Ben Shapiro was saying how, you know, Colin Kaepernick's message didn't respect the flag and didn't respect the anthem, and you know, some of the speeches that, you know, just Ben Shapiro was quoting of this, you know, it wasn't a respectful protest. It wasn't a, you know, Black Lives Matter sentiment. It was just like, you know, fuck the country, fuck the white people.
Yeah, I
that
mean,
kind of thing.
essentially, it was just his version of the middle finger.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
like,
what they did was I seen this. You ever see Now This Politics?
I'm
It's on
pretty sure.
like Facebook. They have a website.
Yeah, I mean,
They're
I,
the
I
absolute worst.
they,
They
yeah,
cherry pick so hard.
they're on Snapchat too. Fucking
Yeah.
their whole story thing
So
on there.
they've had this video, and they're like, Joe Rogan totally owns Ben Shapiro on Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
And what they did, because on the podcast, you know, they brought up a video of the original, the first video of Colin Kaepernick
Yes.
and what he was saying.
Yeah.
And
I
what he
remember
was
that.
saying was that he actually did. He consulted to his family members and friends that were veterans.
Mm-hmm.
And they said this was the best approach to get your message across
Mm-hmm.
and still be respectful.
Yeah.
And so then they stop it and they say, look, Joe Rogan owns him, right? They showed him the video. But then what you don't see is that in the podcast, 10 seconds later, they play a second video that's from a few weeks later.
Yeah.
And then you find that anti-white sentiment that,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
exactly, and that was just kind of where he fucked up, and
Yeah.
like, you know,
The message changed.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly, that really was what Ben Shapiro was talking about, is that his sentiment of his whole message was
Right.
became very racist in its own way, like
Right.
you know,
Anti-white
and
is still
it's still racism.
Yeah.
Like, that is, it doesn't matter who you are, you know.
But yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, is just like they stop it right there and they say, look, Joe Rogan owned him. And it's
Well-
like reality, that conversation wasn't a hostile conversation. Like
No,
it wasn't like
yeah.
Joe Rogan versus, liberal versus conservative Colin Kaepernick, and they make it, this little one punchline, look, he got him, look, he owned him. And it's like reality, they both had opinions coming into that conversation, and I feel like coming out of it, they probably have a better understanding of both sides.
Yeah, absolutely,
like,
yeah, and
it was really respectful.
yeah,
It
and you
wasn't
could
like this,
hear it in their whole conversation with that they almost did kind of like, just hearing it in their voices where they were like, oh, that doesn't actually make a lot of sense. Because one of my things that when you were talking about how now this likes to cherry pick shit, they're going to be the kind of news outlet that will, use Joe Rogan to their advantage of schooling conservative Ben Shapiro, and then next week they'll release an article about him being, transphobe
Did you see that?
because of that.
Did you see that one article?
Yeah, I did.
No,
Igor
like
actually sent
citing
it to me.
episode 17 of Joe Rogan podcast.
What was a really recent
dude,
one?
That was from like 2003. Episode 17 was like 20 fucking years ago,
Yeah.
dude. Like,
Well,
Joe Rogan's on like what, episode fucking 1800? You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like,
Let's
be real.
He's definitely got a lot going on there.
It's like these are the same people. They'll sit here and say, Joe Rogan's transphobic from what he said fucking 20 years ago. And then you look at, what Hillary Clinton, what Joe Biden, what these major Democratic
Well, the people
figures
that
have
are
been saying,
in, like,
what they were saying 20
yeah.
years ago is the same shit.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton said marriage is between a man and a woman.
Yeah.
Barack Obama
So
and
did- yeah,
Joe Biden
exactly.
in 2008, when they ran for president,
Yeah.
said marriage is the sanctioned bond between a man and a woman, and then Obama is fucking praised for legalizing gay marriage. Which
Yeah.
he had nothing to do with. He was the Supreme Court. Obama had nothing to do
yeah,
with that.
yeah, exactly. But then you tell people that, and then they just think of the Supreme Court as a bunch of angry old white men, and
Right.
it's like, well, no, those are the people who pass all these wonderful laws that you like to praise the president for, because you can just. It's simple enough to grasp. This is the man. He's the
Yeah.
front runner guy. Like, I can understand that. No, it's actually a collection of a bunch of different people who are making laws,
Right.
But that is very wild to me that people kind of just go into this, like, simple-minded type
Yeah.
of thought process.
Well, it's just like, whatever supports my worldview, whatever supports my theory. There's no. One of the things, we're talking about Joe Rogan. One of the things I really respect about Joe Rogan is that he constantly says, like, he doesn't hold on to ideas.
Yeah, he's not married to
Exactly.
everything, and he will constantly admit he said some stupid shit on the podcast that
Right.
like, And I'm sure I will be guilty of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's human nature, man. Like, you can't really, like, get pissed off at words that they didn't even intentionally mean to say. Like, you know what I mean? I just think, like, the whole laissez-faire kind of, right? Is that the...
Hands off?
Yes, hands
It's
off.
hands off in French.
Yes,
Yeah.
kind of mentality of just like when it comes to speech, man. I mean, like it's really just fucked up that you're gonna like get that crazy over somebody, like wanting
You see these rallies and these protests.
Yeah, man.
People like violence. You're inflicting pain, suffering, and possibly permanent damage on people you've never met. You don't know their life. You don't know, they have family, they have...
Well, dude, and they're literally trying to ruin all of that. Yeah, like they're trying to...
A partner waiting for them. They have, their whole life, and you're just going to assault them because they said words you don't like.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really fucked up. Like, I hear plenty of people who talk about things that I'm not particularly fond of, whether people on their abortion stance or religious views or whatever, man. Like, but I'm not gonna be like, oh well, since I disagree with you, I will try and disenfranchise you in every way possible.
That's good old Western thinking.
Yeah,
back when Spanish conquistadors, back when Italian explorers came to the New World and settled everything. They forced their will.
Yeah,
one of the main things of Christianity and Catholicism is that you cannot believe in any other god. There is one true God. There's no wiggle room for religion. So this is the God, and you're gonna believe in him or you're wrong. There's not.
Well,
there's 200 different.
Not
religions
only
on
are you
planet
wrong,
Earth.
you're gonna burn in the fucking pit of hell, and like,
Right.
and I definitely think that's a very Catholic-rooted kind of way of thinking. I mean, no offense or whatever. Like, I definitely like am on the religious kind of aspect, but I'm not like a traditional kind of Christian guy. Like, I have religious kind of views, and he doesn't have it. So but that definitely can make quite a great conversation in itself. I think we'll have to have like our own full episode. Right now, I think we're just kind of touching all over the board and
definitely
seeing,
I think kind of just a little preview of what's to come. I think we should do. We should break down like a bunch of different political issues right now. We could talk about abortion. Do like a whole episode. I could easily talk for an hour about abortion. We could do a whole episode on anything, guns.
Yeah,
any
and
political issue that's
I mean, and anybody who is listening, feel free to definitely reach out to us on our, social media. You can definitely thank Joe for that one. I mean, he really went fucking balls to the wall on.
We have a website too, terminalstatepodcast.com.
Yeah, short and sweet, man.
And we'll be on Lipson. Check us out there, and we definitely have everything set up. We're ready to go. That's one of the things this pandemic has really sparked in me is like, I want to go to school for political science. This is what I'm interested in. This is, what's happening right now. And when you can go to school for fucking, to be a vet, like a veterinary assistant, not a veteran. Just to clarify that. I'm not shitting on the military. But you could take care of animals, and that's great. And there's a place for that, and people do that. And once again, not shitting on that. But when it comes to politics, it's our reality. It's what's happening right now. There's no greater importance than the present.
It definitely pays to, I don't know, really know your shit about just everything that's going on. I mean, and that's kind of why he's pretty much going to be the anchor of the facts. And he has the computer in front of him too, guys, just so you know. I mean, I got my phone here and the I Love My Dad cup, but that's what I'm rolling on. But yeah, man, I mean, we really are going to try our best to be as non-biased as possible and really kind of have that libertarian message to it. I mean, that is the beauty of being able to do this podcast, you know, and we're really excited to be able to do this and, you know, hopefully have people listen to it. You know, it's gonna, you know, need some work. We'll get things flushed out and, you know, like get it going. I mean, but
yeah, this whole coronavirus thing is really resonated with both of us. How quickly we go from, you know, all is well and the holidays season, you know, we had Christmas and New Year's.
Wow. Yeah,
and now it's fucking August and it feels like it should be April. And it's weird. It's really weird. And just watching all these people who, you know, their freedoms, their rights, their livelihoods have all been taken away, you know. There are millions of people that never thought in their life they'd be lining up at a fucking food bank to get food just to feed themselves and their families.
Well, a business owner too, who like sunk all this money into their company and everything, and were doing really well for X amount of years and have built up a you know, decent nest egg or whatever, and then just to have it all gone like that. I mean, it's just unbelievable. You know, those are the kind of people who are like, holy fuck, I didn't think I'd be standing in a, you know.
That's one of the things too this has done is really affected our small business community. You know, it's even, you know, we we talked about, you know, for years, like all these conglomerates buying everything up, you know, like Walmart, they own all these other brands, you know, Coca-Cola, you know, Pepsi, they own all these other brands, and they just conglomerate them up so that no matter what you buy, you're really, you know, buying it from the same person. Like cigarettes, for example, all those different cigarettes you see at a gas station, right? There's like Marlboro, Newport, you know, the big ones. There's, you know, literally 30 brands of cigarettes, and 3 companies own all 30 brands.
I really didn't know that. Holy fuck. I didn't even fucking know that. All owned by the same people anyways, too.
Right. Yeah, Philip Morris owns Marlboro.
Shit,
They also
dude.
own, like, I can't even tell you, a bunch of them. Get a pack of cigarettes and look what it says on the pack. It'll say it.
Well, if you apply that, I mean, could you essentially get like a cheaper version of what product they're pushing out? Like whoever owns Marlboro, and then like the generic version. I mean, I don't know if they're like using.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the reason they don't change it, like Pepsi owns Gatorade, and like, you know, Pepsi bought it not to like change it or make like some kind of exclusive Pepsi Gatorade. They kept it the same because there's already a customer base.
Well, yeah, it was already
Gatorade.
established.
So they just want the money.
Yeah.
You know, so like with the cigarettes, like they could make, you know, if Marlboro bought, you know, Parliament cigarettes, they could make them more like Marlboros, but they already have Marlboros. So they're just gonna make Parliament the same.
Just basically,
and just
it's
take the money.
It's a whole like if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of mentality.
You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, unless you could save some operating costs.
Yeah, I mean,
know?
really, if you put yourself into that whole corporate mindset, and I mean, the almighty dollar bill is definitely.
You know, that's a problem too. That's one of the big problems in our country is that you have money, if you got, you know, power. You are,
yeah,
you know,
definitely.
You're above the law. You see it all the time.
Well, dude, I mean, fuck, even with Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, that's one of the big things going on right now.
Like, oh, that's a whole fucking topic on its own right there.
Yeah, I mean, right? If even shit like that, like if you ask the left wing and the right wing in our country if pedophilia is okay, everybody's gonna say no. Everybody agrees on it, yet they're still allowed to do it, and they're still above the law.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Time to raid these motherfuckers' houses and tar and feather them for crying out loud.
Well, dude, that's
You know
what I'm
I mean?
hoping for. We gotta fucking hanging by their toes in the fucking streets, man.
You know, it's
Dude, I don't even
crooks,
care,
dude.
like, you know, who you are. Fucking, if you're a celebrity or if you're a high bigwig at on Wall Street or something. You know what I mean? Like all these. I don't know, dude. I definitely feel like there's a bit of a change in the whole world, man. Like it's. I don't know. Like
you know what's really? I was just last night. I was on my phone, like late, and all the crazy shit brews late at night.
Oh yeah.
So I was looking into. You ever heard of like the Mandela effect?
Yeah.
And there's this one theory that the universe actually ended in 2012.
Yeah.
And that we merged with a different universe, and that's why the Mandela effect is relevant. Is people like in our universe remember things a certain way, but in their parallel universe don't, like they were slightly different. You know what I mean? So like the consensus is, some people believe one thing, other people believe the other. And I think it's a little far-fetched, but it is interesting to think about. Like one of the things I was really looking into last night is that there are like hundreds of reviews on like TripAdvisor, on, like Yelp, all that shit about people going inside of the torch on the Statue of Liberty. Okay? Now, if you look at the history of the Statue of Liberty, in 1916, there was a bombing in the torch. It was a terrorist attack done by some Germans. And since then, the torch has been closed off. But people, as close as 10 years ago, remember going to the torch.
Holy shit.
So it's like, what? How do you explain that? You know what I mean? Like, part of me wants to believe, like, you can go in the crown of the Statue of Liberty, so people are just confusing the two. But, like, it's not that simple if hundreds of people are doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, and I just feel like you really would know where you were, like, in the... I mean, I don't know, there's
some other creepy shit, like, with the Statue of Liberty. Like, people remember it being on Ellis Island, in New York.
Yes.
And it's actually on Liberty Island. It's a whole separate island in
what?
New York Harbor.
Wait a minute. I always thought it was Ellis Island. Yeah.
And so...
If you would have asked me where's the Statue of Liberty, I would have said, Ellis Island, right?
Yeah. And I didn't know until I went. I went to Liberty Island and I was like,
fuck.
And
it makes
the creepiest
sense,
thing is that there's actually pictures online. Like if you type in like you can type in like search filters by location.
Yes.
Like if you like certain apps, they have like, Empire State Building, and you'll see like all the Snapchat stories from the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
So there's this thing with Google Maps where you can do a similar thing, and it'll show pictures and stuff like that. So if you type in Statue of Liberty, Ellis Island, there are people standing in front of the Statue of Liberty, and the Statue of Liberty is gone.
What?
Yes.
I
mean,
that's a mind
once
fuck.
Again, I feel like it might be an issue more of technology and just misconceptions, but it is interesting to think about.
Yeah.
And they're like, people think it's residue of the past timeline.
I mean, yeah, that definitely, that weirdly ties into did you ever see the movie Donnie Darko at all? Oh, fuck. Good watch. Gotta check that one out, dude. It follows that whole premise of like there are two universes, and like I can't even begin to describe how it is. Like it's literally one of those mindfuck movies, and anybody who's listening, definitely recommend checking out Donnie Darko, like just for like a wild movie to check. But yeah, I mean it deals with the whole parallel universes and different objects that are like from the one universe, like the structured same, essentially the universe we're in, and then he happens to be in the parallel universe towards it, and like he's basically supposed to die, and then like in this alternate universe he's not, and it's really weird. Like I don't know how to
check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's some creepy shit to think about, like it's easy to dismiss conspiracy theories, I guess, because it's harder to prove something than to not prove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have to give me evidence, and that's the big thing that separates credible theories and bullshit, Alex Jones nonsense. You know what I mean? And like the lizard people, man. But so like a lot of conspiracy theories that were once conspiracy theories are like true now. Like in like the 50s and the 60s, if you said to me or to the average American, oh, they're brainwashing people with hallucinogenic drugs and they're trying to make them spies with fucking LSD, and they're giving them 40 times the fucking standard dose and trying to implant information into their head, I'd be like, you're fucking crazy. That sounds like utter nonsense. But then we have declassified information about MK Ultra, and that's exactly what the fuck they did.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And they did it unknowingly. Like, it wasn't like they told you they were gonna do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
imagine the trauma those people went through.
Well, yeah. I mean,
psychedelic experiences can be traumatic, and now you're giving them 40 times the dose, and you're hooking them up to a machine and repeating the same thing like 2,000 times. Try fucking people mad, dude. I'm sure some of those people have schizophrenia and fucking PTSD and shit.
I can't really talk too much about it just because I don't know. I've personally never experimented with any psychedelics at all, but I can only imagine how crazy your mind must just feel on that, and not even knowing at all, and then just going into this trip. I don't know if you had listened to the Joe Rogan podcast about the one dude, the author he had on there talking about Charles Manson and that whole thing. Are you familiar with that? No? Oh my god, that's a good one. Holy shit. That whole podcast you gotta listen to. It just really goes into Charles Manson, that he was taken, being used by the CIA, and he was already a troubled kid. And do you know his mom was a prostitute? In the 50s. That's wild.
The world's oldest job.
yeah. Seriously.
First job, right? First profession. But it's crazy, and I feel like now it's so hard to keep shit under wrap. You see all these tech companies that coming out with new TVs or laptops or game systems or new game video games. They can barely keep their shit under wraps, and there's always leaks getting put out. And so nowadays everyone has a camera, everyone has video capability in their pocket every day wherever they go.
Yeah.
And there's even more channels like Twitter, Facebook, these internet sites that you can go to publish your story and to get it out there. So it's even harder nowadays to keep that shit hidden.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's people have a lot more access to just all different kinds of information. And personal and public, just depending on how fucking savvy you are, getting into it on,
But going back to just our premise, it's such a crazy place we live in right now, where can't even describe it. Basic rights are demonized by certain groups and not others. I love seeing all the hypocrisy since this pandemic has begun. You see in I think it was April, there's a bunch of conservatives that go and protest in Michigan over the lockdown laws. Yeah. And you hear it from the media, these people they're killing grandma, they're infecting others, and they're not
putting
socially
people's
distancing.
Lives at risk. And
they said, how dare you protest during a pandemic? And now, beginning at the end of May, we have protests from the other side that was demonizing protest a month earlier, and they're completely justified, right? And I think they are.
The hypocrisy in that, where one side does it and it's awful, and then the other side does it and it's fucking wonderful. Right. And it's really, you literally are, news channels are putting out oh, well, if you want to have a party, you can't have 10 people or 15, whatever number they randomly decide to do.
Gatherings of 10 or more are forbidden.
But yet, if you want to go out and protest, but only for protest causes that we agree with.
Right.
And that's just why I think all this shit's manufactured. Like, just from, I'm just flat out putting it out there. That's my whole Illuminati conspiracy thing. George Soros.
See, I don't really believe in the Illuminati, but I certainly believe that, I don't think it's like this, satanic cult that has been around for centuries. And, there's a history of the Illuminati. Like, it was a group at one point, that exists. But I think what it more so is that people with money and power, people hang out and associate with people that are similar to them.
Yeah.
So, if all these people, if there's a bunch of people with money that have an interest in pedophilia, they go out and they can make it happen. There's a lot of people with money that have an interest in adrenochrome. They go out and get it. You know what I mean? Like, they have a means to get whatever they want. And so, people with similar interests gravitate towards that same thing and help each other out. You know what I mean?
It's like a collective mind kind of mentality that you're thinking. It makes sense. You're not going to have, billionaires who are hanging out with fucking scruffy crackheads on Seneca Street.
Right. They have the power. And a lot of times there's, mutual benefits to relationships. If, for example, like when Obamacare went live, in, what was it, 2012?
Yeah, it would have been his second term that he enacted that in.
Or was it 2014?
I can't
remember the exact year.
Dude, that whole thing is actually fucked up.
What they did, though, is that a lot of these politicians had, stock in, insurance companies and the medical industry. So when they passed Obamacare and it granted, 100 million Americans insurance for the first time, they made a fucking killing.
Yeah.
It's just whatever they can do to keep getting richer, to keep getting more and more power, And I want to just clarify, there's this conception about power. I see a lot of times on left-leaning sites, the government's going to seize more power and take away your freedom. And it's almost used as a left talking point, the freedom fucking conservative guys, the don't tread on me guys.
Yeah.
And it's just to clarify, power isn't tangible. It is to an extent, but it's not there's a meter and you have more power, and power is influence. So for example, if you're, I don't know, we saw this in New York State. If you were building, I'll give some background. So, in, I want to say 2014, New York State granted Tesla to build a factory in Buffalo, right, where we live. Okay, it's called Solar City. Tesla makes solar panels, and they actually have a car assembly plant now too.
Yeah.
But so initially, the governor of New York and the Senate leader of the Senate and all that jazz got together, and they granted Tesla this contract to build their factory. So now the government was giving Tesla an incentive to come here because they were lowering the taxes on them. Gave the business the incentive to move to New York. And so the government then needed to issue a contract to someone who would build the plant.
Yeah.
And it was a very expensive plant. This was a very expensive contract. And so the way power plays into this, when the law in New York, and I think probably the rest of the country, is that there is a bidding process for contracts. Everyone has to have a equal opportunity. There has to be a fair and open auction for the contract. And so what they did was that they changed the rules of the bidding process for the contract that said the contract can only go to, a construction company that has, say 1,000 employees. Well, the problem is that there's only one construction company in New York, or at least in Buffalo area, that has more than 1,000 employees. So it was specifically tailored to that company.
Fit, their whole narrative.
And so they got busted.
They were basically rigging
they rigged the bid rigging. That's literally what they went down for.
Oh, okay, yeah. So,
what they did, is Cuomo's chief of staff is, I think, in prison. The one Senate leader, I think he either resigned or whatever. New York has a pretty big history of having corrupt politicians. There's the whole Sheldon Silver thing. There's the Elliot Spitzer thing. Remember that?
Yeah.
He was the governor before Cuomo and Patterson.
Holy shit! Wow.
He got busted for the prostitute ring.
Mm-hmm.
New York is known for its corrupt politicians, and Andrew Cuomo is no different. All these people that have worked with him have went down, over the last 10 years, and once again, it's I wasn't aware of their activities and bullshit. Bullshit.
Jesus, at that
So that's
point.
what power is like. It's the leader of the company it went to, the construction company, was Simonelli. I'm sure you heard of them.
Yeah. I didn't even
Simonelli,
realize that.
Construction or whatever. The CEO or the head of the company has since stepped down, but he was giving money to Cuomo's campaigns the last 3 times he's been elected.
Well, yeah, of course.
And so that's what power is. That's what it buys you.
You're gonna fund the people who are getting you the money. I mean,
Right.
that's basically, dude. It's no different than the mob. Like that's really like it seriously is the same principles of it, and then it's just fucking people over. At least the mob had the decency to fucking protect people and shit. Like, when it was.
The mob was honest, right? The mob would just be like, "I'm gonna fuck you up." The government's like,
Yeah,
"You won't fuck you up,"
yeah,
and then
exactly.
actually fucks you up.
There was at least some more transparency with the fucking mafia than there was the government itself. Like, and
that's pretty sad when there's,
organized crime and
the
politicians
mob has a better
Yeah.
fucking rating than the government.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, that's pretty fucked. Like, one of the guests that Joe Rogan had on was the one dude who grew up in a very like mob influenced neighborhood, and he was even talking about that same premise of like, what's really the difference between us and the government? They're crooks too. They do the same shit. Like,
there's more money involved and more damage potential.
well, dude, and it's like the more power that they're, like you were saying with the whole power thing, money and power, they just kind of keep going back and forth.
Right.
They're hand in hand. They just, the more power there is, the more money there's involved in it, and it's just like. Then, where we kind of fall into it is just basically generating the money for them to then have them
the taxes.
money launder it. That's basically what I feel that taxation is. That it's literally
it ends up in the fucking pockets of the politicians and the pockets of their interests rather than in the actual, policy or, physical substance that they're supposed to provide. Look at the roads. Look at our infrastructure in America.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's once again, and I think that's one of the things too. Like, I honestly think that Donald Trump's gonna lose in November.
Dude, really?
I do, and the reason is because he ran 4 years ago, and he was the outsider. Drain the swamp.
Yeah, now he
and
can't
that was
use
a good
his
idea.
wild card.
And yeah, exactly.
kind of
Like, what has he
mentality,
done? Really? Like, he's made a public. He's been harsh on China publicly, but we know from, John Bolton is.
I was really familiar.
He's this guy who used to work in the Trump administration, and he's been like a national security agency for 20 years or something like that.
Yeah.
I think he was actually the advisor of the National Security Agency under Trump, and like he said behind closed doors, him and Zhao, the president or leader of China.
Is it a president? Yeah, he's.
I think he's called the president, but we all
Yeah.
know he's not a president. He's Communism. But anyway,
Yeah.
there's no election in China, or at least if there is, it's
very
for show.
Yeah, very
but
rigged.
same as a Russian election, right?
Yeah.
But this guy, John Bolton, he has talked about, how behind closed doors, Trump is buddy with fucking Zhao from China. It's like he says one thing to the public and then he actually does a different thing. He says, and that's, one of the things I was listening to this one show, and they were talking about, like, had Trump went in and just been like, we're going to drain the swamp and just done as much to, limit the government and limit the out of control bureaucracy we have, and then he probably wouldn't have been popular 4 years later and he would have lost. There would be more respect for that. But instead, Trump has turned, more towards re-election. And it's now he has to appease, and now he has to, follow along and play the game. Trump didn't start as a politician, but he's certainly become one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a part of the problem. I think he's going to lose because he doesn't have really anything to show. Like, there's plenty of stuff that he's done over the last 4 years. Certain trade deals, agreements he's brought us out of, unemployment rates, the economy was doing well. And stuff like that. But when it came to, playing hardball, Donald Trump played softball to appease people to try to win re-election.
Do you think that he just kind of got caught up in the whole...
Definitely, yeah. He wasn't a politician, and maybe he had good intentions going in, but he's certainly become a politician,
Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody really knows, like, what goes on once you're sworn in, and then you get into that... Like I was telling my one friend, I almost think it's really funny that if you think of it in a political stance, the president almost is like the low man on the totem pole of the whole, like, inner workings of the politics and everything. Like, you think, it's almost like you're for show. You basically are supposed to represent all of us as us normal people, and then, like, you... are the person who gets to go into there and then just the real inner workings of the actual country and stuff.
Right,
and
what
just
is the president's job? Like, his job is like his power. Okay, at least his power designated by the Constitution is he possesses a veto, right? So, like, we have the executive branch of our government. We have the House and the Senate. And so if the House and the Senate both pass something and the president vetoes it, it has to get repassed again with a 2/3 majority.
Yeah.
So the president has the power to veto something, okay, which is really not a lot of power. The Senate and the House are the ones literally writing the law, where the president, all he can do is either sign it or veto it, okay? And his other main responsibility is to be the diplomat, the lead diplomat of our country, negotiate with foreign countries.
Yeah.
Represent the United States. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And it's so when it comes to, like, who has the power, it's the people that work in these fucking agencies that we've made. It's the people that have worked in the NSA for 30 years. The people that worked in the CIA for 40 years. People like Joe Biden that's been a congressman for 40 years. You know, it's like people are out here protesting, these discrimination and not necessarily discrimination, but these laws and the discrimination that comes from the laws. It's like Joe Biden wrote these fucking laws, and now you're gonna vote for him in November.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, this is the guy that wrote the law. Like, the law you hate, dude. He fucking wrote it. Like,
and then now he's a presidential candidate, and it's just like that is really fucked. If you don't even like look into like what these laws that are being passed and that you're pissed off about, and then the guy who wrote it is literally the presidential candidate, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna vote for him just because he's not Trump. And it's just like,
right now we have pedophile red version and pedophile blue version up for election in November, and that's why I'm going with the only woman on the ballot, Miss Jo Jorgensen. Check her out.
I'm with her.
100%. Yeah, I'm with her for sure, dude. I mean, and that's one of the things, like, I started off when I first got introduced to politics, and, just from what my parents, taught me and their views, I come from my mom being a Democrat and my father being a liberal. And, that was my perception, was that it was, the tribalistic perception of this is the right way, and the other guys are, the Republicans are trying to take us back to, 1900, and you always see all that shit. The Republicans are wrong, and they're sexist, and transphobic, and it's largely not true. It's just the other side, the tribalism once again.
Just trying to throw shit at the other team.
Our team's good, your team's bad.
Yeah.
Join us. So like. That's where I started off, and that's one of the reasons I do appreciate Donald Trump is that in 2016 it was a radical changing of my understanding of like politics and how, it's not like my team's right, your team's wrong. It's a lot of just trying to get people to vote for you. It's just a lot of appeasement. Like it's a lot of. You ever notice that Black Lives Matter only comes around every 4 years?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's the same reason. It's that they're trying to get your vote. Once they get your vote, they're in power, they're in their position, then they don't give a fuck about you for the next 4 years. And then the next 4 years, we're back at it again.
Yeah, because you become a nice, useful idiot for whatever agenda they need to be pushed. And, and I'm saying that for any, Republican or Democrat side. There's this corruption on both sides, and they'll use whatever group they need to basically make themselves look better. And then, our biggest mistake is that we keep falling for the same horseshit over and over. Yeah. And it's just like, do you not see that you're feeding right into their fucking corrupt hands? And
there's just no consistency. Democrats, they always tout themselves as the party of science, And it's such crap. Like I'm going to touch on it, and we probably should do a whole episode on it.
I already know where you're going with this one, dude. Oh, shit.
I 100% support people that are transgender. There's nothing wrong with that, okay? But I think it's really a misclassification. I don't think that your gender is changeable. Biology says there are men and women, there are male and female for every species on Earth. That's not to say that you cannot change your appearance or you can explore your sexuality. That's not at all what I'm saying. I think when it boils down to it, you're either a man or a woman. Okay, and if you want to change it by law, you can go do that. If you want to change your name by law, you can go do that. Absolutely. This should, we shouldn't be preventing people from, you can change whatever the fuck you want to change, but something that's in biology you cannot change. If I said tomorrow, the coronavirus is actually gonna die, tomorrow. It's really weak, and I think it's gonna die. We'd be like, no, the science and the biology and virology of the virus suggests that that's not going to happen.
But you feel like it's gonna die,
But I feel
Joe.
like, I don't like the coronavirus,
so
I think it should go away.
To go.
You know what I mean? That's not entirely true. The government, I think the main thing of why me and Joey are both libertarians, and I think the main thing that entails is that the government should stay out of your life. The government shouldn't tell you that you can't fucking wear a skirt tomorrow, or you can't fucking change your name, or you can't,
dude.
buy menthol cigarettes, or you can't buy flavored fucking e-cig juice. You can't buy, fucking automatic gun. The government should not tell you what you can and cannot do. One of the founding principles of this country is that the government gets its power from the people.
Yeah.
And so, if we're giving the government the power, okay, why are they limiting our freedoms? That's not how this works. You know what I mean?
Well, because they get addicted to it, and they like being just daddy of us all, and they just want to.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily they like. I guess sure, I don't know. Certain politicians probably have that kind of thing.
Dude, I definitely think there's an ego complex. Dude, look at fucking Cuomo.
I
mean,
know,
come
right?
on.
So
you don't think that he fucking walks around like he's got some big dick energy or something, and that, in actuality...
But the reason he does that is not because he likes it. The reason he does that is because he thinks that he's right. He thinks that he's morally correct. And he thinks that doing whatever he's going to do will get him reelected and will get him more votes.
Dude, how many times is this guy gonna be fucking governor? I really don't even. I'm genuinely unsure of like how it works with electing governors. Like
Pretty
how
sure in
long
New
are they?
York, there's no term limit.
There's no term
I'm pretty
limit
sure.
on it. Holy
Like in
shit.
Virginia, for example, you can only serve as governor for 1 term. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, dude.
Because
that's-
all that encourages is that once you get elected governor, you're actually going to do things that are going to benefit your state.
yeah.
You're not going to just be looking for re-election, looking for money, and campaigning your whole 4-year term. You're going to be doing the work.
How long has he been governor for now?
Cuomo, I think 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And look at it's if one thing this pandemic has shown us is just how ill prepared we are for any type of shift in the normal
See,
spectrum. You know, like we spend, close to federally, okay, we spend what, like half of our budget. It's like $2 trillion a year on military expenses.
Yeah.
And it's like if we took 0.01% of that, right, which is what, $2 million, we could have had fucking respirators for every single person in the country.
yeah, dude, it's literally just a placement
We could have had
of
enough
money.
doses of fucking steroids, all these drugs you're hearing about, hydroxychloroquine,
Oh, that's-
remdesivir, all these drugs you're hearing about that have potential coronavirus
Curing,
therapeutics.
yeah,
right.
therapeutics. I don't want to
And-
use the word cure. Big Pharma's gonna come down on me.
Yeah, right. We shut down tomorrow.
Yeah, yep. No advertisement at all.
This will be
whatsoever.
fact checked, right?
Yeah.
And, so,
Dude, we're already
think
getting put
that's-
on a list. I know it.
yeah, right. But like part of the problem is that we don't spend that money. We don't think about tomorrow. We only think about now, right?
Yeah, I mean,
And it's a very, very, very bad situation. Like there's actually, if you ever look at it, there's a lot of similarities between the United States right now and like the fall of the Roman Empire.
holy shit.
Yeah, there's actually
really?
a lot of similarities. Like one of the big reasons the Roman Empire fell was because there was no unifying principle to keep it together. Like there was too many groups and like different demographics and different
Well,
ideas that were like everybody was conflicting with one another.
so it got too diverse. Like it was too
almost like too diverse. Like
yeah, it was
almost,
too broken
yeah.
up because you had so many people being like, well, no, I like it this way, and I want
Right.
it this way, and we need to be. Well, that's why the beauty of essentially like a smaller government kind of way. Like, for instance, with the states, like you essentially have different demographics, so you want to have their, governors in place to be able. But you got to keep a good balance of, are these corrupt pieces of shit who are gonna,
abuse their power.
abuse it and then almost try and feed into the whole, we all have to be on the same page. You have to have a feeding into the whole big government kind of mentality is what I'm
Right.
saying.
Yeah.
Like you want to hope that your politicians are going to be honest enough to keep you, like the governor of Texas is in favor of what is best for Texans, not New Yorkers. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like
And
you
that's
want
one of
them
the
to
things
have
the
good
Constitution
intentions.
that they did was like, and we've largely gone away from, is that, so like when the Constitution was first written, senators were not elected. Senators were appointed by the governor of the state to represent the state. So you'd
Wow.
only elect, and that makes a lot of sense if you really think about it. Like, so for example, like the Senate would be a different, it would almost have like a different feel to it now, because they'd be representing the state's interests rather than the party's interests. So like right now, if you look at like the Democratic Party of Alabama and the Democratic Party of New York, there's probably lots of key differences on their platform.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing, right? Because you're getting like a balance then. It's not just all one way or the other. You're getting, more middle of the line Democrats, and you're getting the, very left New York Democrats. But what happens is instead we elect them and they're a part of the party system and they represent the party platform, which is
Just
universal across the
yeah,
board.
yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
They're not giving a shit of if it's either a New York Democrat or a Alabama Democrat. They just
But you can't also, in that same regard, you can't go too far where the states are their own entities. Because what originally happened when they passed the Constitution was that there was all these different taxes being put on. I wouldn't say. I guess they were more like tariffs.
Yeah,
interstate borders. Like so,
they
like
basically were like their own countries, and they were
Right.
treating it as
like Pennsylvania had its own currency
Yeah.
in New York. So like when you went to New York with Pennsylvania currency, it was like worth less. And people were
Yeah.
getting pissed. You know what I mean? So like there has to be like you can't go too far individual states, but you also can't go
total,
too far the other way. You know
one
what I mean?
world government, everything. Like we're all just this entity, because then that just like gives total control over. Yeah, I get what you're saying. You know, you don't
Yeah.
want to have your whole extremes. You know, I was wondering. This was something I wanted to touch on, was with the whole monetary money system of like, do you think that bartering could work nowadays?
No, bartering's stupid.
No, you couldn't do it
I
at
don't
all.
think bartering would work. I mean, maybe it would work better nowadays because there's more items. But I think part of the reason that bartering is not good is because it doesn't promote capitalism. Like capitalism, it has flaws. Okay, there are flaws to every economic system, but capitalism is the system that has the least amount of flaws. Okay, like an iPad, right? I wanted to buy an iPad. The reason that money is the root of all evil, right? They say. But the reason that money is a beautiful thing is because it represents value, right? Like, if I had a fucking table and you had an iPad, that's not a fair trade. And how many tables would it take? And you know what I mean? So, like, for example, like, I could be like, oh, I'll give you 200 tables. You know, they're worth, $10,000. But the iPad's only worth, $500. But the iPad is still, you don't want the tables. You know what I mean?
So
There's
many
no
tables
incentive for you to
the
have
table.
2,000 tables. You know what I mean?
Well, and you actually, in your analogy, you assign the tables already a pre-existing value. You have to totally take away, like, because you said
Yeah.
that it's worth $10,000 for these.
Well, I just use that as like
tables.
an example, like because like I could, like if you want to buy a car, what would be like a relevant thing to trade for a car?
Okay, this is the way that I looked at the whole bartering system, and I don't even know if this is like factually accurate or whatever. This was my understanding of, as everything that I fucking have said on this whole podcast, is that it's basically a very individualistic kind of experience. So, okay, the person who has the iPad doesn't necessarily, like, what if they don't need it? What if they already have a desktop and they're like, well, I have this iPad for no reason whatsoever, but I just don't have that table. And it's like, it boils down to the whole,
You're also losing value then.
Is it losing? What's losing value?
Because there still is a value on something. Like, even if there's no money, right? Like, there still is a value on everything. Like, your time, if an iPad makes your life easier.
I mean, do you
there's
think
that
it's
value.
also like the kind of products that were being bartered back then? I mean, you could fucking
That's what I'm saying. Like,
barter
nowadays, like, it would be, I guess, easier, but also harder in certain regards. Because, like, okay, like, if somebody has, like that's what I was trying to get at with the table analogy. Like, because if they don't want the table, then it doesn't matter the amount of tables you give them. They will never trade the table for the iPad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, it's almost, like, counterproductive.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about money is that, people are always, talking about, minimum wage and shit. You are selling your time. That's what you're doing, right? You could sit at home and make no money, right? And you have 100% of your time, right?
Yeah.
But what you do is you sell your time to go work somewhere, and then they compensate you for the time you sold them, right? Like there's that old analogy where, someone, says, okay, capitalism is so bad, then why don't you make a pencil? He says, the graphite in the pencil is made in fucking India, and the plastic piece comes from, Indonesia.
Yeah.
The eraser bit of rubber comes because you couldn't do it. The capitalism exploits the labor class and the working class, but it doesn't. It actually, like the whole premise of communism is to liberate the working class, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're constrained by the enterprise and the capitalism, because they can't just simply exist. They have to work and trade their time for money to provide for themselves. So, like, if the government came in and just gave everybody money and not necessarily gave them money, but if just provided their needs for them, then there would not be any reason to work.
Well, yeah, there's no incentivizing to do anything at all, and when it comes to lack of incentive, I know there's a word for it. Lack of incentives would just be, it just makes you feel meaningless, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it really, like, I'm not saying that your only purpose should be to fucking contribute to, the work. Like, you should have more meaning than just working, but like, I don't know. I still get a pretty good sense of satisfaction for working for my money and getting up early in the morning and doing what I gotta do.
That's part of the like personal fulfillment, of working.
Yeah.
But like, so that's why like communism is like an attractive idea to so many, is because you don't have to work and you can have 100% of your time and still have all your needs provided for you. But the problem is it doesn't work.
Yeah.
The problem is that you need someone that's going to oversee this system, that's going to be completely neutral and unbiased. And the problem is you're giving them all the power.
Yeah.
So it's like, like they say, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Yeah.
Because once you have that much power, even if you try to remain neutral, you will be physically unable to.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way you could decide who lives and dies neutrally.
Yeah.
There's no way you could decide who, gets. And a lot of the things is you get the power in communism, like from the, I don't know what to call them, like almost like the organized crime of the place you're in, like overlords, like almost like they fucking call them in fucking feudalism, like the landowners had the power. It's kind of like the same concept, like the corporations have the power, because they're getting the money from the government in order to produce things for the citizens.
Well, yeah, because isn't that essentially like a corporate welfare system?
Right. So,
like
example, like in Russia right now, like a lot, well, maybe not so right now, maybe like 10, 20 years ago, like when Putin came into office, the big problem was that the government was pretty weak because all the power resided in the business, like the corporations and the people that owned land and the organized crime. Like the mafia ran Russia for a while after the Berlin Wall fell.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Berlin Wall.
And so, like, that's one of the things that Putin is credited for, was bringing back power to the central Russian government. But going back to the money, it's a neutral value that everyone wants because you can get things with it. You can buy an iPad, you can buy food, anything you could possibly imagine, you can buy with money. So if everyone wants the same thing, it's a universal system in which everyone can trade
goods at the. Well, okay. So what is your whole thing? Since we are, in the topic of money, what is your thing with paper federal notes versus actual gold currency? Like, where do you really fall on that whole thing? Should we be basically getting shit with IOUs? That's essentially what they are. They are given by the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. Well, I think there's no way, okay? Like, there's this. I don't even know if they still tout this as being true, but at least when it was built, the National Depository, I think maybe the Federal Reserve has some gold, but it's called Fort Knox.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
and they say in Fort Knox there's enough, like the value of the gold is backed by every dollar, or vice versa. So every dollar that is in circulation is backed by the gold.
But
there's no way that we have that much gold.
Yeah, like that's my whole thing, is that we're just supposed to believe that all the gold is in Fort Knox. I don't believe that.
And like, I largely think that's also an outdated concept. Treasuries used to have to back currency by gold to prevent their dollar, the value of their dollar from going down. Because if, say like we're taking out a loan from another country, or we're giving them
That's a scary
a
thought.
transfer payment, right? Like we borrowed $10 million, and say they come to collect on it, and we don't have the money to give them, then we could just give them the gold, $10 million worth of gold, and it'd be the same value. But that's largely been abandoned. Like we're $20 trillion in debt.
Yeah,
there's no way.
That's why I'm thinking that I think we ran out of gold a long time ago.
Exactly.
So
it might
then,
even be empty.
yeah, like Fort Knox probably is fucking empty at this point, and that's why we switched over to the petro system, and that's why the money has. That's why oil is such a big thing, and I mean, I'm positive we ran out of the fucking gold back in like the '60s. And around that time, because of the whole JFK assassination and stuff, because he wanted...
JFK attacked the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, and then
dead.
he got shot, so he's dead.
Yep.
But that's...
And that's one of the things that Trump was really hard on.
Yeah.
He was really hard on the Federal Reserve, and he campaigned on shutting down the Fed, and he even replaced the Fed chairman. He took a really hard stance on that, and at least publicly. But behind the scenes, the interest rates still remain low, and everything is still the status quo with the Federal Reserve. So once again, it's a lot of Trump speak and not Trump do. You know what I mean?
Trump speak and
Trump fucking
do.
type on his phone on fucking Twitter and not actually do anything about it. But yeah, money is the root of all evil because of how effective it is.
That is just something that's really strange to me. Is like, why do we let it get like that? What was
like what?
Sorry, yeah, I definitely should elaborate on that. No, like, why as humans have we just allowed us to fall into this whole kind of mentality of that we let money become the root of all evil? We let, like, what is it that's so... I have a theory on this. I'm always going to have a theory for, the entirety of this podcast about something else. But, like, what drew us to... Why is it that money is the power? Is what I'm getting at.
Well, like, it's not... Like, money isn't inherently powerful or useful. Like, if I take a piece of paper and draw a 20 on it and say this is, $20 of Joe federal note, right?
Yeah.
There's no value to that. Nobody's going to spend $20 or give me $20 in value for that bill.
Yeah.
But the reason that money is evil is not because of the money. It's because human nature. Humans are
a lot
evil.
like guns,
right?
Yeah.
Guns aren't evil. It's the people that have the guns, It's the people that, go out and buy cocaine, right? Money is the root of all evil. You can go buy cocaine. You can go buy, you can go buy 20 bags of fucking Doritos and, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But that's where the power from money comes. It's not because the actual money. It's not a bad thing. Money is just the neutral value for time, effort, production.
Yeah, so what is to actually stop people from going from the lettuce to the Bitcoin there? What is stopping the shift of people going from our monetary system with the Federal Reserve to a more open market kind of thing like
Well,
Bitcoin?
like just the Federal Reserve is just who runs our money in the country. Like every government in every country
has
a
central
department.
banking
Right.
system.
Has
yes,
some kind of
and
bank.
that was definitely designed to. Do I go into my conspiracy?
Absolutely.
Oh fuck!
Let him hear it.
All right, guys. Well, if you didn't think I was crazy during this whole podcast, now you're really gonna think I'm fucking loony. So this
Drum
is
roll.
my whole conspiracy. Did we get my tinfoil hat ready? Did you make one up? My thing with the centralized banking system is that the reason they're in all different countries and they came up with their federal notes, basically their paper IOUs, and we all established that gold is very valuable from here to fucking China, and they all were able to get us to get the gold out of the ground, and then we're able to, as via miners, like all that shit.
But why do people do that?
We're going deep because
They weren't told to do that. There was a benefit in them going to get the gold.
I don't know. I definitely feel like there was a bit of influence that kind of like, where did even that thought process come for? Like, you see this fucking yellow shit that's around my neck right now? I'm literally wearing a gold chain.
Well,
It was like, where?
Like, why is gold valuable?
Because it's a, you fucking were trained.
We made it valuable.
Yeah, because of our.
Like, why isn't coal as valuable as gold?
Mm,
You know what I mean? It's because the value we place on it. So like gold, is more scarce, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like-
It definitely factors the scarcity of
Yeah.
whatever fucking element we're taking out of the ground. Like,
All right,
but
so
like
keep going.
this, yeah. My whole thing. I don't wanna. I gotta hyper focus on in this whole thing. So basically, the whole point of us getting gold out of the ground is for aliens. I know, like.
Why? Please explain.
Okay. So this was actually something that made me think about this was because of Joe Rogan's podcast with Post Malone, and they were talking about the planet hidden behind the sun, and that it's this, you gotta listen to it. It's a fucking 4-hour long podcast, but I don't even remember what the name of the planet is. It's got the fucking Nephilim on there and crazy shit, man.
Okay,
Like-
wait. We're gonna have to explain this real quick.
I
There's
know,
a planet hidden behind the sun.
I'm going full Alex
does that
Jones.
even mean?
on you here
Yes, you
right
are.
now.
What does that even mean?
I know, right?
If there was a planet like the sun, like we go around the sun,
Yes.
right? So if there was this planet that was hidden, we would at some point during the year see it in our sky.
I know.
Unless it has some kind of futuristic cloaking device. You know what I mean?
Wouldn't they essentially spin around the sun too, just as much as we're orbiting around the sun? I am not by any means a fucking astrologer or any whatever you want to fucking call it, space expert.
So, like, there are 9 planets again. Did you know that? There's actually 9 planets
They
again.
fucking put Pluto back
Nope,
in the
it's not
game?
Pluto, it's a
No?
different one.
Oh, Planet X, is that it?
It's this
Is it
planet that we're probably not going to see in our lifetime. The orbit of it is so long.
far out there? Like,
Yeah, it
it's
goes like beyond the dust cloud on the edge of our solar system. So like this
Oh,
planet
shit.
like orbits around the sun like once every like 10,000 years. So like a year on that planet is 10,000 years.
God damn! What the
10,000 Earth years.
Yeah,
You know what I
that
mean?
is.
The orbit is so big that we will never see it in our life. You know. But back to
My whole
there's a hidden planet.
Yeah, so allegedly there's the hidden planet with the aliens on it, and this would be their meaning for getting the gold off of Earth. Okay, so they're so close to the sun that their atmosphere is like being fucked up, like the ozone layer, basically.
Right, okay. Yeah,
And-
like Venus and Mercury, they have an accelerated greenhouse effect. Like
Yeah.
like what the Earth could become or is going to become one day when there's just so much carbon monoxide in the atmosphere, it creates this layer that destroys the ozone and like blocks out the sun.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know if like, because I'm not like totally. Like I said, I got this from a podcast, and I was working while I was doing it and listening. But essentially, they like take the gold from Earth and then change it into whatever they need to, and basically shoot it up into their atmosphere, and then the reflection of the gold in it, like it's supposed to help protect their ozone layer from the sun, like trying to fuck it up. But like it doesn't even matter what the fucking aliens are using it for. These alleged aliens.
I think
want
it
to
does
specify
matter because that's the entire incentive to get it.
Well,
is what their use of it is.
Okay.
And so like, all right. So there's just a couple things. Why gold? Every metal is reflective and shine, and there's
I don't know.
plenty of cheaper alternatives.
What if it's not just for the protection of their ozone? What if it's not that at all? Like I was just saying that. What if it's a fucking aphrodisiac? You know what I mean? Like alien dicks getting hard because of fucking gold. I'm sorry.
That's their kink, right?
I'm sorry. It's turned into this kind of podcast.
Oh, you're fine. But no, this is good because this is like, one of the vision I have for the podcast is, I want it to be. I want to talk about stuff that's happening now. I want to talk about politics. I want to talk about non-political stuff, and I've always been interested in conspiracies and shit like that. So I want to talk about everything. I want to talk about fucking, the benefits of buying, different types of floor tiles, if that's what we fucking talk about one day. Whatever.
Whatever comes in, man. I mean,
exactly.
that's the mentality here, and I'm sure you will gain much entertainment out of my. Whacked ass conspiracy.
I think the viewers will too.
Oh yeah, dude, definitely.
But so like, I have trouble understanding why Earth. Like there are millions, billions, trillions of other planets.
Yeah.
With gold.
But okay, how do we know that? How do we know that though? Like, what if we
science?
It's science, bitch. That's what we're about. No, I don't know. Like, what if Earth really is like the only planet in the galaxy? Hypothetically, we're speaking. I'm not saying that there is not other planets with gold. That would be sweet.
Okay, at 10 o'clock tonight, look outside. You can see Venus.
Yeah?
Yeah, you can see a little dot. You look at that line.
Yeah.
That's Venus.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough.
That's why we're not the only planets.
I know that we have. I'm saying gold. I didn't mean that we're the only
planet with gold.
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't make sense because like gold is an element.
Are you saying that every planet has gold on it?
Not necessarily every planet, but like probably like at least half of them like have similar conditions to Earth, because like for example, like all diamond is just compressed coal. That's been compressed for like thousands of years.
And then I tricked people into buying it for a year when I sold jewelry. So.
You bastard.
I'm sorry. I didn't trick you. I persuaded you with my sales skills.
Did you get commission?
I mean, yeah, but I was also hourly.
He's buy this shit. You need. You wanted one ring, dude? Get two.
No, dude, and I'm so thankful I got the fuck out of that industry, because who the fuck wants to buy diamonds in the middle of a pandemic? I'm more concerned with getting food on my table.
Soon. And you get everything online and shit. I honestly think like, by the time we get to our old age and closer to death, I think like. Stores, like physical stores, are gonna be pretty. It's gonna be like grocery stores. That's it.
Well, you know what's gonna be fucked is when they become retro. When you have your new age fucking, man, we're gonna go to the store, bro. Like, cause we're just trying to be cool and not all about the online shopping.
Like the fucking
your hipsters. Your hipsters in fucking 2050. Oh my god, dude! If there's still hipsters in 2050, I'm gonna I don't know what. Just.
I don't know. I feel like that's a bad rap for hipsters.
I mean,
but like there is like
people call
some
me a hipster.
appreciation in that, in like older technology. You know, there's an appreciation in that.
I mean, absolutely, but don't be a douche about it. I think that's just what the
So mainstream.
yeah. I mean, like,
Yeah, right.
if
You don't
you're
have to
trying to
push your
promote it,
ideas.
yeah, you're trying to promote it as, you know, like I'm being cool because I got The Weeknd on a record.
Yeah, dude,
You
the
know?
vinyl. I drive a fucking 98 Subaru. And,
Oh man, now we're going into broad brushing.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
fuck. All right. Well, I mean, you know, that's always a fun topic on its own. We gotta do a segment on just broad brush, just for comedic purposes.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
saying, man.
we definitely should have some non. I feel like kind of like this. Like this episode was very.
All over the place.
Yeah, and that's the first episode. You know, we kind of
Yeah.
want to just give people a lot of just our conversation and just our ideas and just on a base level, and. You
And
know, we
just
can
to
go
see if they
in
can
and-
tolerate our voices for an hour and a half.
Yeah, I can't tolerate my own. So
Yeah, we both can't tolerate our own voices. So if you can and you made it this far in the podcast, that is a reward in itself.
Definitely.
But we will definitely try and be a lot more fluid in.
Yeah, we're only gonna get better at this.
For
You know, this
sure.
is our first episode, our first really. We haven't even practiced like recording for a long period or anything. We just kind of been fucking with settings and trying to get our setup right.
And now
yeah,
there is audio. No, you wouldn't call it footage, would you? No, audio
recording.
recording
Yeah.
of us shooting the shit for about an hour and a half now. So, but
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely, you know, gonna get better, and I think one of the big things is we're gonna have more focused episodes. You know, like we'll stick to one topic, you know, for an extended period of time, so kind of jumping. But then I also want to have like a show. Maybe like we could do an episode like maybe one a week, where it's just kind of we sit down and, you know, shoot some shit, and you know what I mean.
yeah.
Then we also have
definitely.
that episode where it's, you know, our political series or, you know, whatever we want to call it. And, you know, I think, you know, right now there's like a lot of this, I'm going to say a internet friendly term, I guess. There's like this existential dread of our society, you know what I mean? And just all aspects of it. Like, it's not fucking unicorns and rainbows, you know. There's a lot of people that get discouraged and disenfranchised to do anything because of how fucked up our government is, our culture. You know what I mean?
And that's what the Terminal State Podcast is here for, to cover all of those lovely fucked up things in the government and the culture. And, you know, we're going to do our best to really not fall to one side, as, you know, as rooted in our way of thinking. I think Joe and I are pretty well balanced kind of people who can really reach out to a lot of different, you know, different types of people, for sure. I mean, if you can deal with me ranting on my conspiracy stuff, you know, I give mad props to you. But we
And there's
will,
people that love that, and I certainly,
well,
even if something's,
everyone who watched InfoWars, I mean, definitely did. So,
but even like you know, like me, like I listen to Alex Jones sometimes. I
Yeah.
do, you know, and I take it for what it is. You know what I mean? I'm very evidence based thinking and, you know, reason. I feel like I just sneezed. There it is.
first sneeze on the podcast.
We'll have to
I
cut that
love
out.
it.
You know, I like listening to crazy shit too. Like I like thinking. You know, I feel like I think a lot. You know, about crazy shit, stupid shit, random shit, and just hearing different viewpoints, hearing, you know, even crazy people talk about shit that might not even be evidence based is still good for you, because then you can, you know, make your assessment of it and kind of see, you know, the error in their thinking and logic.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's one of the things is, you know, you see with millennials is there's all this, you know, like kill yourself memes. I'd rather be dead. And
Yeah, when the fuck did suicide become just as? I
that's
mean,
the thing, man. It's
our
society and culture is fucked up on a lot of levels,
dude.
And that's the reasoning behind the name. It's called terminal state, and what is a terminal state? Like, if someone is terminally ill, they're on their last breath, and they're going to die, and then one of the unexpected meanings I've seen on Google about terminal state is that it's the state between life and death. All it falls in between. And that's what I want the podcast to be. It's kind of like an analysis of where we're at and what we need to change. And that's one of the things that I hope this pandemic inspires, is that just a rethinking of our society and how easily it can crumble and how easily it can fall apart. And, it gets worse and worse by the day. You see more and more anti-capitalist shit. You see more and more crazy lunacy and fucking crazy people getting famous and fucking stupid people, for stupid reasons. But that's what I want it to be, and
and I'm really happy that Joe and I can really kind of talk to you guys about it and pretty much just give you a place to go when Mr. Red Tie or Mr. Blue Tie isn't really vibing with you, and you got us.
Time to go to Mr. Yellow Tie.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things the pandemic's going to inspire too. Is I feel a lot more, people are going to realize that they are really libertarians. If you really look at
my
the policies,
already on getting into that mindset. She says
if you really look at
centrist.
it, I think one of the best quotes I seen was that libertarians want to keep Democrats out of your checkbook and Republicans out of your bedroom.
Hell yeah, man! Wow,
that's a beautiful thing.
That is a absolutely great quote to just end on there of just the libertarian mindset of I mean, we really are gonna try to do the best we can to stick within those means, regardless of Joe and I we have our roots of him coming from a liberal background and me coming from a conservative background. I think that it really does make this beautiful mix of just being in the middle, especially
as a
right
society,
as Joe and I have both seen, the division in America. It's honestly just truly saddening. But yeah, guys, I mean, I think that's this pretty much wraps up episode 1. So I really do hope that you enjoyed, the start.
Getting to meet us.
Yeah, getting to meet us, actually. That's really cool to think. You're getting to meet us. But yeah, definitely. So I definitely appreciate you listening.
Do we need a clever sign off bit? Little slogan.
Let's get there. I mean, we can't drop
Sleep
any.
all day, terminal podcast by night. All day.
Oh God, dude! Before you know it, fucking Joe Rogan's lawyer is gonna be knocking on the fucking door.
Yeah, we're gonna cut that out.
Yeah. But yeah, guys,
Remember
really.
The state is terminal. We'll have to come up with one.
Yeah, but thanks for tuning in, guys. All right, have a good night or good rest of your day, whatever fucking time it is, pretty much.
You're right.
All right, and don't let the aliens steal your gold, okay? All right, peace out, guys.
Peace.